Can you please tell us a little bit about who you are and what inspired you to create Food for All Africa?
All right. Thank you very much. And thank you for the opportunity. So, Elijah Amoo Addo is a Ghanaian chef who grew up wanting. My childhood ambition growing up was to become a medical doctor. As a teenager, losing my parents meant that my education and that of my sisters would have to be dependent from a middle income family, would have to be dependent on my grandmother who was on retirement. I was fortunate to stay with my auntie in Lagos, where as a young boy schooling, I took up a job as well as a kitchen cleaner in a restaurant. So after school, I go and work as a cleaner in the restaurant. And that was where my passion for cooking came from. But then as well, because I was the only boy, so after school, I took up and went for the culinary school to become a chef. After becoming a chef, I got a job back home in Ghana as a chef de partie in a big hotel. And one day I went to work. I came into contact with a mentally challenged man who was always coming to the trash bin of the hotel where I worked to pick leftover foods that we've thrown into the trash bin. And then he goes onto the street to feed his colleague mentally challenged on it with the food he picks from the trash bin. That's how Food for Africa came about.
So, do you miss the kitchen, Elijah? Do you miss being the chef? Because right now you are the CEO of such an amazing organization, but do you miss the kitchen a little bit?
Well, initially I did, but then as I was able to grow the organization to a certain level, I realized the joy and then the relief that we are able to bring to our beneficiaries supersedes that. And in as much as I'm more focused on the organization, I always try to find time, especially to go back to the kitchen. To most importantly, some of our programs focuses on bringing hot meals to homeless, urban, poor people.
You're going to put a lot of smiles in Mexico as well when people hear about this amazing story. And I want to ask you about the operating model, because I know that the organization has a lot of programs, but if you could share with us a little bit about the general operating model. I can imagine that speed and agility are important to get those connections that you talk about happening. Where is the food coming from? What can you share about how Food for All Africa and its programs work?
Sure, thank you. Yeah, so first and foremost, our principal operation is connecting where there are excess food to those who don't have. So for businesses within the food supply chain, we see ourselves as a social enterprise that creates solutions for them to be able to mitigate or reduce the amount of waste that goes on in their businesses. And by so doing, we equally are saving them cost. We are saving them resources.
Where do you want to take Food for All Africa? First Mexico, but after Mexico, where do you see Food for Africa in the future? What challenges come ahead? What dreams come ahead?
For us, our medium-term goal and is to see to it that low-income and vulnerable communities, in spite of global economic challenges, do not get affected in getting access and affordable food. It is very critical for us at Food for All Africa to ensure that food is free, accessible, and affordable to all communities, and to ensure that we believe in working with communities and partners to, through our various programs and activities, to achieve this objective. And that is our medium-term goal. And our long-term goal is actually to make sure that we are able to help in creating efficient and sustainable means of nutrition for all. Thank you.
IPADE. The world calls.